Hello everyone, welcome to Off Model, a weekly live show where we go over some animation industry news as well as some live demonstration. Now obviously this is a little bit of a different format for us today. We're going to be doing a Christmas special, and so instead of going over some headlines and some live demonstrative tutorials, instead we're going to get into an interview with my very good friend Barrett Lewis. So share some more on him momentarily, but for those of you who are unfamiliar with me, perhaps, my name is Elijah Sheffield. I'm a professional motion designer, and I teach Blender to the masses right here on YouTube. Now, like I said, we're going to be interviewing Barrett Lewis. He was a creative director over me back at the post house that I used to work at. I came up as a ACD underneath him, and he was just a really great mentor and kind of helped show me the ropes of creative direction. And we'll get into his CV momentarily. We'll talk about his resume and all of his different accolades, but really it's not the impressive background that he has that really made me want to bring him on today, but really it's his way with clients. It's his ability to connect with people and establish relationships. It's something that's becoming a bit of a lost art. It's not really something they teach in art school. It's not really something that you can pick up necessarily just from being around people. It's something that takes a lot of intentionality and is a long time to cultivate that. So we'll get into that. We'll kind of pry a little bit and get into some of his background as well as some of those softer skills. We're going to be going over stuff like finding clients and building relationships with them, creative direction, its past applications, and maybe where he sees it going in the future, as well as some of these softer skills that are necessary for proper leadership. So if you happen to be an aspiring creative director or wanting to be in some leadership position at a creative studio, this might be for you. If you're a sole proprietor or a freelancer who wants to learn to build relationships with clients a little bit better, this also might be a really great episode for you. So before we get into it, before we go over who Barrett is and then we launch into our interview with him, I want to remind you to please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and consider joining members only, a membership right here on YouTube. It's $10 a month. You get access to exclusive video breakdowns, exclusive project files, and you get access to the Fort, a private Discord server where I'm in there. Barrett is going to be in there, so if you like him or you hate him and you want to really rip him a new one, you can be sure to join up on members only and join the Fort. We'd love to have you over there. So before we get into it, before we start talking to Barrett, I want to give you a brief overview of kind of his CV here. Barrett Lewis is a Texas native. I believe he was born and he grew up in Houston, Texas. A freelance creative director, an artist, a composer, and a Santa Claus lookalike. This is really the reason we wanted to bring him on for the Christmas special here today. We want to bring in somebody who looks like Santa Claus and have him spread some holiday joy. He joined RealFX as a character animator back in 2001. I believe I was 4 years old at that time. And he rose to a creative director when it was about 2011 when he ascended to his throne. He's led multiple divisions while both directing projects and composing music. That is another really cool thing about this man. He's not just a creative director or a one-trick pony. He's also quite an impressive composer. His work spans films, commercials, video games, and interactive installments, some of which earned him an Emmy. That's very cool. And Barrett is heavily driven by his lifelong passions for creating experiences and connecting with people. He is a great artist, a great man, and my friend Barrett Lewis. Barrett, thanks so much for being here this evening. We're excited to talk with you, and I'd love it if you would go ahead and start by introducing yourself and giving us a high-level overview of your life and career so far.
Thanks, Elijah. Let me start by saying, ho, 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 everyone. Wow, where to start? I guess I'll continue the Santa Claus impersonation and just say that every one of these gray hairs has a job number attached to it. So keep that in mind as we go along. But yeah, I've been drawing and making music since I was a kid. I went to magnet schools that focused on the fine arts, and it wasn't until the original Toy Story movie came out in theaters. I believe that was 1996. Check my facts on that, but that was when I realized that I might actually have a shot at doing something as a creative in the form of this new thing called CG animation. So despite my whole family warning me not to become an artist or a musician for a living, I applied to the Art Institute. I got my degree, in animation and landed my first job at Real Effects, which which is hilariously a few years before YouTube even existed, and or smartphones or social media, and certainly AI. So anyway, I just thought that'd be helpful to provide some context on my particular perspective as a creative director. I'm 47, which makes me Gen X. I've been in the industry for 25 years. I've had a full-time job at a company that went from like 20 people to over 400 internationally. So watching that, being a part of that growth, I learned a lot. And then I made a couple of stops after that, one of which is a studio where Elijah and I got to work together for at
Yeah,
least a year, maybe a little over.
I think a little over.
And
Yeah.
and now currently freelance. So I worked with every type of job and every type of personality you can possibly imagine. The pot throwers, the screamers, the indecisive creepers, micromanagers, egotistical hotheads, you name it. So anyway, for better and worse, that's who you're talking to today, if that helps.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of my audience is pretty new to motion design, or at least they're finding their way. I'm kind of the middle child, you know. I'm not like the brand new guard, and I'm also not an old head, so I'm kind of just contemptuous, this disgusting chud in the middle. But to that, I think, you know, we touched on it a little bit earlier, and I've touched on this before in the show, but creative direction is something that's a little bit more abstract, and it's not as cut and
Yeah,
dry as like, here's a list of all of your job requirements and your job duties. So I wanted you
right.
to talk a little bit so we can define our terms as we
Yeah,
move forward. What does creative direction mean to you? I know
yeah,
you've talked before about there being multiple kinds of creative directors, and thought I'd just open the floor to that.
yeah. Um, you're absolutely right. It's answering what a creative director is or does is this frustratingly varied definition depending on what part of the industry you're in. See, you've got CDs for advertising, fashion, music, video games, live events, in-house CDs for local brands and global brands. And additionally, you know, some projects are small enough to run solo, and some projects will require leading tens or hundreds of people. Um, Now, most of us are in the motion design, animation, visual effects arena, which means our clients are mainly advertising and brands. So we'll try to stay in that in our lane. um, but the point is that almost every company has a different definition of what a CD
Sure.
is and overall scope of how much of what and how much they're responsible for. So you may start as a designer or an animator, writer, producer, and work your way up. That's the way I became a creative director. I certainly didn't start out my career thinking I'm going to be a creative director. I actually went to school for animation to become an animator, thinking that's what I was going to do. That's all I was going to do, and I was going to get really good at it. But still learning, you know, about myself, I realized I'm actually not only just interested in that, but I became interested in visual effects and interested in every part of the process, editorial and live action filmmaking, being on set, making presentations, and you know, just all of the things that I got to get my hands on. It was hard for me to just sort of narrow my focus, and I was constantly asking questions like, okay, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why is this decision? So it was, you know, going beyond answering the question of how are we going to do something, what tools are we going to use, what techniques, what processes, but the philosophical questions of why did we decide to do it this way, and how does that affect us, how does that affect the project, and how does that affect our client relationship, because it was important to me. I understood, and everyone should always remind themselves that clients are everything. They are the reason that we have jobs. If we don't have clients, we got to do something else.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so yeah,
hang on. I wanted to ask a question kind of with that because I thought that was kind of interesting. Because it occurred to me as you're talking, you kind of started creative direction around the time when CG was starting to be widely adopted into more of the advertising space, or like more less of the like we're making Jurassic Park and more of like, hey, this is going to be a cool CG ad. So you weren't just like creative directing based on processes that already existed and were already pioneered, but you were doing quite a bit of the pioneering and exploring yourself, which I think is interesting.
yeah, there was a whole lot of how the hell are we going to do this moments. What have we done? What have we just said yes to? There were plenty of anxious nights, long nights where you couldn't sleep because you didn't know how you were going to solve a problem, and all of the other anxieties that come from server crashes or machine hard
Yeah.
drives pooping out. And but each one of those moments, there was always a solution. We always figured it out. Sometimes there was turbulence along the way, but looking back, there was never a job that we just failed, couldn't do for some reason. And that is a testament not just to the leadership but also the team, of course, because although directors get to take a lot of the credit, they also get to take a lot of the blame.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the credit goes to the team that is helping that creative director solve whatever the creative problem is.
Yeah. So parentheticals, super summation, because I think that was a great exploration, but just really tight. Can you package into like a sentence what is a creative director so that we have like a working word bank almost?
Yeah. Um,
To you.
Ultimately, a creative director it's a leadership position that involves responsibility not over just the craft, but responsibility over the client relationship, responsibility over the business negotiations that involve the schedule. How long do we have? The budget? How much do we have to work with? Resourcing? Who are we going to staff to fill the seats? And from pitch to finish, you have to communicate your idea. You have to sell and present your idea, not just once, but several times throughout the process with each milestone review. You have to manage clients' relationships as well as artists. So it's quite a lot. It's exciting, but it can be quite a heavy burden. And so there's a lot of things that will help manage that, which we can talk about. But yeah,
Yeah.
creative director is ultimately a leadership position where you provide clear direction on whatever the creative solution is.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll like you said, we'll touch on that in a minute because I think that's everybody wants to be the creative director. Everybody thinks that's the penultimate
Right.
thing, but
Yeah.
it's if you're
It's like,
if you're
hey,
a
I'm really
general,
good
you're
at this.
not in the front lines. So yeah,
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm really good at this thing, so I want to be able to get into a position where I can tell other people how to do this thing.
yeah,
It's so much more than that. There is some of that, obviously, but it definitely is a laundry list of responsibilities that I get excited about, that
yeah,
definitely that are meaningful things that will generate long lasting relationships and ultimately really great work, if you're willing to to dive in to all of those things.
definitely. So that kind of brings me then to my next question. You started in 2011. It's almost 2026. So essentially you've had a good 15 years of experience creative directing. How would you say that things have changed over the last 15 years with new
Yeah.
technology, kind of a everybody's budget's kind of shrinking and needing to have multiple people wearing different hats.
Yeah.
How have things
Yeah.
changed?
Man, that is such a good question because there's so much of that. I mean, tech has changed, processes have changed, the way that we conduct business. The pandemic certainly uprooted a whole lot of things. The introduction of AI and this emphasis on social media presence and all that stuff has evolved and rapidly changed over the years. But the good news is that although that's true, there are some fundamentals that have not changed that I think will that have still rung true and will continue to ring true as we move forward into this ever evolving space of tech and art.
Yeah.
Um, I think the if I were to backing up just a little bit, like anyone can call themselves a creative director without any prerequisite of education or certification or even experience. Now that doesn't inherently make you a good one. Again, it's a leadership role that requires you to lead clients as well as artists and even executives if you're in a studio that have a bureaucracy of a hierarchy of leadership above you, executive creative directors, CCOs, CEOs, CFOs. They come from business backgrounds and they are interested in you as not just a creative and what you can do for the craft, for the project, but what kind of business are you going to generate, and how do you fit in that space? And so anyway, again, not to belabor the point, but it is a whole lot less about the craft and more about the relationships, perspectives, production management, budgets, strategies. But I think the biggest fundamental thing for me is to just be a good communicator. And these are the things that, like you said earlier, I went to art school, I went to animation school, and I learned everything there that they could teach about the techniques and the tools at the time and the fundamentals of the craft, but they didn't teach me, and it's a lot less talked about, of the softer skills of like I didn't know, and going to in art school there I was gonna have to be a salesman, you
Yeah.
know, and that I would have to be so good at communicating. That wasn't something I thought I was good at back in high school and college. I was just like this weird art dude.
You had the
That
double lip rings, didn't you?
obscure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a lip ring pierced, and I had my rooks pierced, and
Yeah.
long
So it doesn't
hair.
doesn't scream, statesman communicator, but
Right,
we all
right.
evolve.
I wasn't poloed, tucked into my khakis.
Yeah.
But I learned very quickly that, you just the art of direction, you have to be a good communicator. There's no way that you can direct anyone if you cannot clearly convey your idea or your point of view. And so, if you want to be a CD and aren't already good at this skill, I would say spend your time there. And by the way, if you don't want to be a CD because that's not something you want to be good at, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
There are CDs are no more important than the artists that specialize in what they do. We can come back to that, but this is specifically for people who are interested in this part of the business. And so yeah, being a good communicator is important. And another fundamental that I think is important is to be outgoing. um Introverts and hermits might make good art directors, but I don't think they make good creative directors. And that the reason for that is that it is about relationships, again, not
Mhm.
just with clients but with artists and other vendors who are working either for you or alongside you. And being outgoing is not only going to help the current project that you have in front of you or the current client that you've got, but establishing new relationships. You've got to talk to people, you got to network, you have to
Yeah.
reach out, make new friends, and be a generally cool human being. You don't have to be the coolest person on the block or have the funniest jokes or have the neatest stories. You can totally be socially awkward. Just be authentic about it, and
Yeah.
be genuinely interested in making human connections, because at the end of the day, that's what makes all of it work. That's the magic, is the human connection. And an old proverb is that people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel. And I think that's
Yeah.
true with projects as well. Like, they don't remember what you made as much as they remember what the experience was like working with you.
Yeah.
Because the stuff you made is cool, but that fades away. But the longer lasting thing is, did Elijah make me feel like I could trust him, rely on him, and that whatever creative thing that came to my mind as a client, that he would either tell me it was a bad idea or figure out how to do the thing. I could sleep better at night as a client because I trusted him. I knew I could rely on him. And therefore, future projects, he'll be the first on my mind, right?
Yeah, well, a couple of things there. The first thing I want to point out to people watching, Barrett is very good at this Jedi mind trick, and I'm gonna blow up his magician spot. He's gonna get blackballed by the whatever it is from Arrested Development, the League of Magicians. But whenever he is bringing in this analogous scenario where he's instead of using the proverbial you or even putting it back on him of I do this, he says Elijah might do this, and he makes you feel very special. He puts you in the main character role, and it feels very special. But that's just a free tip right there. That's something I'll do, and I do it because Barrett has exampled that so well. But to your first point, I wanted to say something on that, because I think you touched on something really important. I think there is a propensity of people to believe that creative director is king artist. If you are a good enough artist, you get paid a creative director's salary because you are a better artist than everyone below you. And that's not
Right.
necessarily true. In fact, that's probably rarely true. Creative directors make the money that they make because it's harder to find a really good creative director. It's a much more difficult and nuanced skill than something like being an artist. You can be a great principled artist, and you probably make a lot of money as a principal artist, but to be a great communicator, to be that Rosetta Stone, to do exactly what Barrett's talking about, to make people feel comfortable and happy and important, that is such a unique skill that it is worth the extra money that a lot of CDs make over something like an art director or even just a principal artist.
Yeah, those are all good points, and it is possible to bring home the bag just as an artist. I mean, there's certainly some designers that I know that are just killing it in New York and West Coast, and they're. So that is a possibility, but yeah, it is generally true. With the creative director title, the more people and the more things that you're responsible for, the more is at stake, and the more trust is involved. And so with that, you get, typically a larger salary, but it does come with great power comes great responsibility. And so it comes with risk, but it's risk that is very rewarding, at least to me, and hopefully for other people that are aspiring creative directors.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, to that, then I guess let's move into kind of what most people are probably here for. I'm going to get them with a clickbait probably, but clientele and speaking to clients, maintaining client relationships, even just finding them is such a slog of, if you are a creative director, if you're trying to be a creative director, if you are a sole proprietorship, if you're a freelancer, those types of things are so arduous, and you seem to just do them completely second nature, and that really is one of your biggest skills. So I wanted to ask you kind of what's the secret, I guess. There's probably not one secret, but what is the single secret, even if it's not, to creating those connections with clients that make them want to work with you, to come back, and see you as that lifeboat?
Just go to secretsauce.com. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I don't know what kind of site that is.
That's going to get you a virus on your computer for sure.
No, you're right. There's a list of things, and I don't have a definitive order of start here and go down this list. But I think that staying high level. Things that are important and will continue to be important along the way. You have to present, you have to sell. You're constantly doing that. It's not just the pitch. Like after the pitch, there is maybe a debrief meeting. You have to resell what you just sold to the clients to your team to reinforce what the idea is, what the perspective is, what the approach or the point of view is, right? You have to you have to deflect or just work with all of the curveballs that you get along the way. You're going to get client revisions, obviously. You're also, if you have a team, artists are going to challenge you. They're going to question. They're going to suggest alternatives, and you have the right and responsibility to either say, no, thanks for the suggestion, but we're going to do it this way, and here's why. So now I'm presenting and selling to you why we're doing this thing. Or producers will challenge, okay, you made a decision to do XYZ, but that by doing that, it is going to cost us time. It's going to cost us money for whatever reasons. It'll require extra people or whatever. So you have to constantly be able to defend the vision that you have, as well as to the clients when next week we're going to show them version 2. Hey, clients, here's version 2. Here's what you're looking at. Here's what we did. Here's what we haven't done yet, but what you can look forward to. And so you're just constantly presenting and constantly selling. So that's huge. And being good at that and retaining your, creative stamina through the process, because it can be a lot. It can be exhausting, at least at first, but you get, just like going to the gym, you eventually get stronger and better at the thing. And it's also important to remember that it's not about you. The project is not about you. Or you're hired by a client. You're there to serve their project, of which, by the way, they have possibly already been working on for weeks, if not months. So it's important to have respect for that, because sometimes the client will come to you and you look at it and go, I might change these things. But before you start messing with what they brought to you and critiquing it, just be aware, be mindful that that kind of homework has potentially already been done and may potentially have involved several people, not only on the client side, but their client, right?
Yeah.
You could have 3 different levels of clients all at the same time. You can have the vendor that hires you. Maybe it's the animation studio if you're freelance, right? From there, you've got the agency. And from there, you've got the brand client. So there's potentially like 3 levels of clients involved. So just be mindful and respectful of that. You're there to make creative decisions to solve the creative problems. ideally within the scope. Now, that doesn't mean you can't put your own spin on things. In fact, most of the time, that's encouraged, but when you do run into the clients don't like my idea, how dare them?
Yeah.
Or they don't know what they're talking about, or they're stupid, or just keep in mind that they're obviously not as good as you are at what you do, but there are very important reasons why they are trying to steer things in a certain way. And if you're not there to help them serve the project, then you start working against them. And that is dangerous territory.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, with that, establishing those relationships, it sounds like communication and presentation and pitching and just a more offensive approach to communication is kind of the I guess the core of everything you're saying. How do you go about maintaining those relationships once you get them, once you have that first job, you get your foot in the door, you're communicating with them, you're pitching to them, you are checking the list of all the creative director best things. How do you maintain those, and then I guess subsequently transform those into more regular gigs?
Something that, and this is just my approach, I don't claim that my approach is the best way at all. But something that has worked for me is when I was first becoming a creative director, there was this perception of us versus them, me versus the client. We were two different things, almost inherently working against each other. Like they want to do a certain thing, I want to do a certain thing, and it didn't go like that. Obviously, when getting on the phone and hearing a stupid suggestion from a client, if I thought so, I wouldn't tell them, oh, that's dumb, I'm going to do something different. I might say, let me think about that and get back to you. By the way, you don't always have to have the answers right then and there.
That's another thing that's been helpful that you taught me is, let me think on that. Let me circle back.
Yeah, it's so much easier to just say, yeah, maybe, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, let me talk to my team about that. And those are all honest ways to just give you some more time to process not only what they're asking for, but why they're asking for it. And we can get into the minutia of that, like client mind reading and that sort of thing. But back to your question about like just fostering relationships and maintaining long-term relationships. The thing that I started to do that worked for me was that I just started viewing them as my friends. And people, every friend, every family, everyone has their quirks. There are things that will annoy you. There's things that you love about them. There's things that just are unique to them, that are hilarious or difficult perhaps, but ultimately they're human beings. They have, generally good intentions. 99.9% of everyone I've ever worked with has been a generally cool human being. Would I hang out with them on a Saturday night? Maybe not, but but they're cool enough to warrant a more personal level of communication, like starting to ask them, like, so what else do you do besides this thing that we're working on? Who are you? Like, are you a mom? Are you a dad? Are you how are your dogs? Tell me more about your other hobbies. And you get to know people on a personal level, and then after the project is said and done, hopefully you can celebrate together this thing that we made together, and do it on a very honest and authentic, like, human level, not just a professional one, but a friendly one, right? Like, hey, it was so great to meet you, work with you. Looking forward to the next one, right? Like, let's say bye for now, but stay tuned. And if if that communication dies off, it's a good habit to check up on them. um Obviously you want their work, but check up on them personally. Maybe it's around the holidays, you haven't heard from them in 6 months. Shoot them a text message, shoot them an email. Hey, here's a funny story that made me think of you. Anyway, hope you're doing well, and talk to you soon. And it's totally fine if they don't respond to you, but what you're doing is you're extending your friendship, not just your professional connection, but your honest friendliness, and that, I think, really wins clients and makes them want to come back to
Yeah.
you. Some of my best clients are now some of my best friends.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't say that I have any clients that I'm like, yeah, this is my buddy. Um,
Yeah,
I like everybody that I've ever worked with, but that's something I think I need
yeah.
to. So Barrett's saying if you have clients, visit them at home, find out where their kids go to school, just really just investigate them. But
Bring them
no,
some chicken pot pie.
yeah, exactly, deliver some food. But no, I think that's really great is developing those relationships past.
Again, they don't have to be your best friends, but
Right.
really good acquaintances that find whatever it is that connects you guys. Like, they may be someone that's totally different than you. You have zero things in common. I have certainly run into that more often than I'd like to admit. But there's something in there that is a connection point, and if you can, nourish that just a little bit. Again, they don't have to be your best friend, but enough of a personal connection where a text 6 months later, hey, this made me think of you, hope you're doing well, type of a text or email, isn't totally out of left field.
Yeah, and what you're
um
talking about is genuinely the difference between uh, probably what I'm closer to, which is like a hired gun creative director. I hop in, I give my thoughts, I do a lot of the work. I'm might have two or three people under me, and I'm managing them, but and then I just kind of like bounce, and then I'm like,
yeah,
okay, if they call me again, it'd be great. And so that a fine creative director, and then what Barrett's talking about would be like a great creative director where you know the clients know you, they're coming back, you are basically selling your the connection, the desire to work with you, not even necessarily based on the abilities of the studio or the abilities of the sole proprietorship, but more they really want to work with you, which is massive thing. So I wanted to ask you this. This is probably not the last one, but this is one of the last big questions. But if you had to start over, say you're 20 again. This was 150 years ago. Say you're 20 again. In today's world, with TikTok, with social media, with nobody can afford anything. What would you do? Would you obviously you'd have to do some things differently, but what would you do? Where would you start?
yeah. Man, that's a hard one because I mean, I've certainly imagined what would it be like if I had narrowed my focus perhaps on just music or just animation. What Where would I be now, and would I be happier? And each scenario that I have in my mind ends up in the same result of just I wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't be me. Would I do things differently? There's there's certain lessons that I have learned that, had I known the lessons that I learned before I made whatever mistake or said whatever I said, would have loved to have that knowledge prior to making
Yeah.
those boo
Sure.
boos. But again, I think that regardless of the tech and the tools and the processes, these fundamental things exist. Whether you're making furniture for a client or, you know, directing a live performance of some notable music celebrity, with all the screens and projectors and, fun stuff like that. It really comes down to taking care of whoever's hiring you. They're coming to you because they have their baby. They want to entrust the, or I mean, you can use pregnancy as like we're gonna go through a whole pregnancy together of this job that we're finally going to deliver at the end, right? There's a certain amount of time, and you're a little bit of like an acting doctor in a sense, where you're giving them updates along the way, you're checking on them, you're counseling them away, you're reassuring them everything's going to be okay. Oh, there was a little bit of a scare here, but everything's fine. um and so, it's I forgot what your question was.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I asked, if you were 20 and you were starting again.
Oh, would I do anything different? I don't. Yeah.
Well, I don't even know if I'm asking if you would do something different. Are there things that you've observed recently that are like, yes, you should do this? For example, members only on YouTube, $10 a month. You get access to the fort. Would you do that? Would you purchase Payload, an add-on that I've made? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not using that as an ad. No, but aside from birthing somebody's project with them being pregnant, aside from working exclusively with pregnant people, is there anything that you would do if you had to start from scratch? If a genie turned you 20 again?
Yeah, I might have spent more time researching, reading, watching videos on public speaking, project management, I don't know, personality management. That's a thing, the crazy personalities that you work with, both on the artist side, but also on the client side. And so maybe, spending a little bit more time getting into the nitty gritty and learning some wisdom on that would have been helpful earlier on. Going to art school as we do and studying the craft, so much of that is left out. I sometimes wish I had a mentor earlier on for discussions of like how to charge people, when to charge people, how much to charge them, what about spec work, what about what makes a good client. These are all things that I've just sort of learned by accident over time, but hopefully even just you and I having this conversation will help those younger folk and the younger version of me.
Yeah.
Hypothetical younger version of me.
You were born with a white beard, is that correct?
Yeah, I was born an old man.
Yeah,
I'm only 11.
That's a great that's a great answer to that. I think Miles, Miles. Miles was very instrumental in me moving to the social media space, and I fooled around with it. I wasn't taking it very seriously, and then of course you helped emphasize the need for being articulate and the need for learning to communicate complex ideas, and that I think translated really heavily then into the tutorial space. So yeah, I second that. Anytime people ask me that kind of a question, I got asked that when I was in Chicago. It's a weird answer, but if you want to be a really like broad impacting artist, you have to be able to communicate. That's imperative.
Yeah. And you also don't have to be great you don't have to be the best at any of the things. When you graduate into creative direction, there's some things that you have to be willing to give up. And I'm making an exception for, like, I was hired this year several times to just do an entire project by myself, from story to design to animation, even music, which I have to say, I love being able to do all those things. I don't always love having to do all of those things. As you can absolutely, I'm sure, kind of empathize with, is, I mean, you wear many hats too. You're able to go from story to finish, but it is a lot of work. But you don't with the solo jobs aside, you know, what I hope for anyone who wants to become a director, and certainly my favorite types of jobs, are when I've got a really good animator who's better than me, a really good story artist who's better than me, a really good, you know, et cetera, et cetera. The bigger the team and the more talented people that are all better than me at all the things that they do, the more fun I have, because it just makes the project that much better. That being said, it is important to have a solid understanding of every part of the process.
Yeah.
So in motion design, that means you have to have an equally good understanding of what good type design is, and also a really good understanding of what good timing is, and also a good understanding of composition and color and design principles, but also editorial and even, sound. Whether you're actually doing the sound yourself or hiring someone, having a perspective on what makes the most sense for whatever the sound is their dialogue, is their sound design, is their music. You get to decide as a director what that approach is and what the style is of that. So again, you don't have to be the greatest at all the things, but keep yourself sharp for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that's another great answer. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some rapid fire questions. You can answer
Yeah,
these.
sure.
You can answer them long form if you want, if you feel passionate. But we're just gonna kind of get through these. First
Yeah.
off, what have you done lately that you're really proud of?
The most recent project that I'm excited about, I'm still waiting for a big announcement. It's on their website, but I worked on a project for the Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was an exhibit that allows you to walk up to a touch screen and start playing music with a digital DJ mixer that you get to choose different stems, bass track, a drum track, a guitar track, piano track, etc., from different genres. So you could choose a country bass line, like a shuffle,
Mm-hmm.
You could add a hip hop drum beat, and you could add some EDM synthesizers and basically build your own ice cream bar kind of creation of music. And it's both really cool and also really funny. You can combine styles of music that are unexpected and make some really funny results. It also incorporates a jog wheel, which, if you guys don't know what that is, that's the digital, like when a DJ scratches a record.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
What we did is we fed that the signature Coca-Cola sounds. So like the sound of opening the can or opening a bottle or pouring the fizz, the shh.
Yeah.
And you could assign that to the jog wheel, and then with the touch screen, you could scratch it along with the music that you're making that you chose.
Fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, while that's going on, there's this big 65-inch screen with visuals responding to what you're doing. And
That's so cool. And what was your role in that? That's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I was very lucky to be both creative director and composer. And what that meant was I had to concept what the mechanics were of this thing. When do you hit a button? When do you move a slider? When do you turn a wheel? What do those things do? I also had to design it. What does it look like? So if you go to their website, you could see it. But there's like Coca-Cola bottle cap knobs that you can turn. And has this, branded look to it. So working with the clients on the visual design. Also, there's animation involved. There's a tutorial and like little
Cool.
motion graphics, like steps come up. They're like, now try this thing, and it's like wiggling, got some glow to it, and then I finally, I got to write all of the music, of course. So that job seems like it was designed for me.
Yeah, I was
And
about to say that sounds like something you made up, truthfully. Like,
yeah,
like that's
yeah.
so cool though.
And I want more of those types of things, but again, like, it was hard to do all of the things, and I hopefully the next one I can rely on artists that are better than me than all of those things, and have them help with the production while I can focus on the higher level stuff, such as being a creative director, versus being a production artist. Because when I'm headphones on and drawing, illustrating, designing, animating, or writing music, I am a production artist, not creative director.
Right.
I'd have to check the specific URL, but just Google the Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. Go to their website. Somewhere at the bottom, you'll see new installations or new exhibit, and you'll see something called the studios, and just click on that. They have a video, and you can see pieces and parts of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any idea when it will have its like full announcement or anything, or is that just kind of TBD right now?
Yeah, TBD. We were expecting it a month ago at least. So
Okay.
just like construction never goes as planned or delivers on time, installations are a little bit of a construction project.
Yeah. Well, cool. I'll move on to the next rapid fire. Very rapid fire, very quick. What do you think your professional legacy, or what would you like your professional legacy to be?
I think a memorable experience that isn't just a passive moment like a commercial or even, a feature, but something that people can dive into and play with for a long enough time to make a memory, to, hopefully years later they will remember, oh, I remember playing with this thing, whether it's a video game or this interactive experience or something like that.
Yeah.
To hopefully bring a smile, make an impression, inspire a creative, or just, generate memories that families and friends can share together. So that's my hope.
Yeah. Where do you gain inspiration from?
Ooh, that's a good one. Besides all over.
Besides sweetboy.motion.
There you go. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, where else do you find?
I think it changes. Certainly, video games. There's so much about video games that I love, from the art direction, the animation, the UI design, the mechanics. If it's fun to play with, fun to drive, the world, the stories, the world building, the lore. So many filmmakers, directors, also actors, voice actors, and composers are crossing over from that side of things into gaming, and it's really interesting to see that. And so, games wanting to be more cinematic, and cinematic experiences exploring how they could be more interactive is creating this sweet spot of really neat ideas that are pushing tech and pushing art. So whenever something is living in that space, I'm interested. If it's good, I'll be interested in it, whether it's a visual thing or a musical thing. If it's good, I love it, and that will inspire me. But sometimes turning shit off. Sorry, turning
I'll mute it, or I'll bleep it.
Turning off the screens and experiencing and enjoying visceral life, like walking my dogs. I will leave my phone at home, and I will just be with my dogs, walk through the neighborhood, listen to the trees, listen to the wind, play ball with them, or just, playing guitar or piano without the screens. Sometimes even if I'm just improvising and messing around with it, accidental ideas can generate from that. So sometimes it's not just input, but like find a way, whatever it is, to create a play, a version of play for yourself. Maybe it's a Zen garden, maybe it's a good book, but something that's tangible, something that's tactile, that doesn't require the internet. I think there's really good stuff to get from life.
Definitely. Yeah, it's not all anything I do. In anything I do that's tactile, I get Subway Surfers up just right under it, so I can remain stimulated. Who was your mentor when you were? You probably had a few, but who was your most, I guess, primary mentor?
Yeah.
And what did you gain from them?
I certainly had a few good ones. The two that stand out happen to be a director duo, and that is Brandon Oldenburg and Limbert Fabian.
Yeah. I met them.
Yeah. I believe their current brand is called In Between, or possibly We Are In Between. But they were my mentors for over a decade. And they have been involved in so many projects. They are Academy Award winning directors. They worked at the studio that I worked at. They left, they started their own, they did that thing, and then they came back and then started new businesses. And what I really love about these guys are not just their ability to draw, illustrate, to design, but the way that they think about solving a creative problem. How many times I've just sat back in my chair and thought to myself, man, I would have never thought about it that way, but that's genius,
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot from them on like how to think. I'm not going to say outside the box, but just how to come at a problem in an unexpected way, a remarkable way, and get that surprise and delight from the clients or anyone that you present it to.
Yeah.
Those guys can sell an idea with a sketch on a cocktail napkin. I used to put so much emphasis in like the pitch book and getting all the type lined up perfectly and the page layout and all this stuff, and I would watch them put pitches together. They were just like iPhone snaps and scans of cocktail napkins and stuff, and I'd be like, what do you? And then they would pitch it, present it, and the clients would fall in love. And
well, that's the communication you were talking about. If you can adequately communicate your idea with a bar napkin sketch just as well as you could a big Google Slides presentation, whatever, it works.
Exactly.
That's crazy. So last question here, and then we'll get your socials and where people can find you. But you are 1,000 years old. Do you have any parting advice or wisdom to impart on my follower base or viewership that is maybe younger?
Okay, how about a rapid fire answer to that, or several answers to that, in no particular order, but some of the things that have stuck, right? Clients are everything. Be a good, authentic human being. Don't forget that part. Don't take the job too seriously. Remember to have fun. We're all in this together. Be decisive, but don't be precious. Be willing to adjust your original vision if it serves the job. There's no reason to hang on something just because you're personally attached to it if it's not serving the job. Begin with the end in mind, or sometimes I'll say design responsibly. Like when you're pitching something or coming up with an idea, keep in mind what you've got to work with. So don't concept something that's going to take a team in 6 months to create if there's only a $20,000 budget. Maybe lastly, don't drink a buttload of coffee before a presentation. Never a good idea.
Yeah. Gets you a little jittery.
Yeah. They'll pick up on it. You'll get out of breath. I used to do this when I was younger. I thought the coffee was the answer to everything. and I would drink a bunch of coffee, and I'd go in, and I'd be kind of, it gives you the shakes a little bit. I'd be excited, but that excitement, the adrenaline would like take the breath out. So I'd be trying to present, but I'd be out of breath, and maybe got the sweats in the pits. It's just be real careful about that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw. I've kind of switched to tea in the afternoon. When Barrett and I worked together, I would. What do you think? I was at like 6 cups a day, maybe.
I wasn't counting, but
it was aggressive.
Yeah,
aggressive caffeine intake.
Hey,
thank you so much for being here this afternoon, this evening. Whenever this is recorded, so people are watching.
Yeah.
But where can people find you? Where can people follow you or get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's real easy. BarrettLewis.com.
Okay.
My name is
I'll have that
spelled
linked
with
below.
2 R's and 2 T's. I'm pretty sure there are links to all of the socials from there if you want to look me up on Insta, YouTube. I've been decidedly quiet for the last few months on social, but I'm ready to start ramping it up. So shoot me a contact. Let me know who you are. I'd love to meet you, and that will help me start generating more of a consistent social presence. And other than that, I'll see you on the Fort Discord.
Fort, yeah, good plug. Good plug. See you on the Fort.
On the Sweet Boy YouTubes, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Barrett. Really appreciate you.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Well, that was Barrett Lewis. I hope you all enjoyed that. Hope you all learned something. Certainly a very articulate fella. Like I said, one of my mentors, a very impactful individual on me. So big thank you to him. Hope you learned something. Hope you were able to glean something out of that. Now, I do want to just make a quick announcement real quick. It's not a huge deal. I'm going to take a quick sabbatical. I'm going to be out for a little less than a month, but working on a few things, doing a lot of stuff kind of on the DL. There's a lot of just end of the year type of slog to get through, as well as working on revamping some things and kind of going through the bones of the Sweet Boy brand and kind of putting some spackle on some of the cracks forming. So we'll be doing that over the next month, and we'll be back with you in January with an even better version of Off Model. But I appreciate everyone's patience, and everybody be cool as I walk away for a little bit, okay? So really appreciate you being here. Please like this video, share it with your mother, or your father if you'd like. Be sure to comment something down below and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and I'll see everybody in January. Thank you.